Okay, I appreciate the question. Let's look at the question. Your son will be voting in his first election in November. Congratulations. That's an exciting time. I so look forward to it, believe it or not. When I was 18, that should give you a snapshot into how strange I am. But look, I love politics. I love history. I love philosophy. Um, you know, those are my passions. I was just talking to somebody the other day that I haven't. I think the only nonfiction book that I've read, other than what's been assigned to me in school, is Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand, which is one of my favorite books. But that, other than that, guys, I do nothing but read, and I read a lot, but I do nothing but read nonfiction. And so, as a result, when it comes to political events and politics, I'm all about that. So and it's such a testament to you to be encouraging that and building that up as something that he would participate in. I wish all parents did that. We would have a much higher turnout rate of our younger kids if we as parents took the time to help develop that in them and let them understand how what a heavy responsibility that is with regards to their civic duty to uh, in our constitutional republic. Uh, I wish people would stop calling us a democracy. We're not. We're a constitutional republic, and um, people go, well, Democrat or Republic, sort of, okay, sort of, but we are choosing through our vote a representative to go and speak on our behalf. But that person speaking on our behalf doesn't have to vote um, like we would like them to. I mean, that's why we reelect them. That's why it's not a democracy. It's a constitutional republic because we're selecting somebody who is supposed to be acting in our interest. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the person acting in our interest is voting the way we want that person to vote. That's why we vote again in 4 years and every 2 years for the House of Representatives if we don't like how they're voting on our behalf. Okay, so you've read the IDEA Voting Rights Act and found a number of provisions for individuals with physical disabilities such as RAMs. Um, there doesn't need to be provisions necessarily for individuals with intellectual neurological disabilities like autism. And some of that, I suppose, would have to do with, keep in mind that there's an issue, and I'm going to use a legal word, so don't get all upset about it. I'm not saying you will. I'm just saying that I'm using a legal term called a capacity. Okay, and that's whether the individual has the competence, I guess you could say, to contract and engage in things of that nature. So I imagine that in some of those realms, that's why those things are not there, is because uh, there could be restrictions put on the right to vote depending on a person's capacity. Now, with that being said, and I don't know what state you live in, so that's why I was sort of broad in my discussion there. But in your situation, I'm just let's just go forward because I have a child as well that cannot stand in long lines or dealing with large crowds of people, and so that is common. So let's say somebody has a phobia, which is very real as well. Let's say somebody with a physical disability that needs more time and needs space. It would be a very similar kind of accommodation request. I just wouldn't get really deep into explaining the intellectual disability. Neurological, yes, I would. That's okay. Along with the standing in long lines, dealing with large crowds, that's understandable. And I do know that in a lot of states, because of COVID, we had the midterms and there was distancing there, and therefore they also spaced out and provided times for those in high risk groups to go separate from everybody else. Um, so they are making accommodations. What I would recommend that you do is that you call your um, county clerk, because that's who would oversee it, and talk to your county clerk. They may be able to put you in touch with whoever is in charge of your voting precinct, um, because they would have those people by and large already determined, and at that point you would know who you would need to talk to for those accommodations. And I haven't seen where they haven't been anything but flexible, kind, understanding, and would be able to establish those accommodations. But those would all be things that I recommend that you establish in advance of calling the county clerk and then getting in touch with your whoever is in charge of your precinct voting, and get that worked out. And they would be able to designate a way for that to occur. Okay, and if they say, well, what about mail-in voting or absentee? Uh, I would sit there and say, look, this is his first voting experience, and he wants to do it in person, so that they understand that you're looking for an accommodation. Okay, uh, I do not believe that you're going to have an issue there, but I do not recommend you wait until the day of the election to do this. Just start laying the foundation now. Okay, and I think it's going to be fine. But good job you for making this a priority for him.